Hi guys, this is Cece,
What's up, y'all? It's Jay.
and this is
Lie after the L word.
Live.
Live.
Hey guys, hope y'all are doing well
What's up?
today.
Let's go, baby. Let me give me some love because we got a good topic, y'all. And
Yes.
it might get kind of hard, so we're gonna see how it rocks. We're gonna have some different opinions, but I love this topic that we're gonna talk about, and it's that. What is it, love?
So today's topic is when I'm fine, it's not enough.
Okay, so you're gonna be fruity yourself. What I'm gonna say,
Fruity.
yeah. So what I'm gonna say is, we don't say I'm fine. What we say is, man, we say we good. All right, basics. So we gonna talk about it.
So women say I'm fine and dudes say
We
I'm
good.
good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well,
So
thanks for that clarification because we didn't know.
yeah, I didn't feel like you cared, but it's a part of it. And I love this conversation because you see the disagreement because it's real, but it's about like we're saying the same thing, but we're saying it differently.
Right.
And so how we're gonna really do it is we're gonna talk how we both see it, and then some way in a way we're gonna connect, and hopefully y'all can take something from it. So
Right.
anyway, what you think?
So meaning I'll speak for the women and you speak for the men. Is that what that?
Don't you mostly do that?
Oh yeah. So. Okay, so for me, I was excited about this when you decided to bring this one up.
Nah, who brought this up?
You did.
Oh yeah,
You wanted to do this one.
Yeah, it is because we battled this. This was something real that we really went through a lot of times.
Yeah.
It would be me or you. And so now we need to talk about it because I know a lot of us go through this where it's like, yo, this called this double talk. Like, what does this really mean? Say what you mean,
Yeah. So for me, for the longest time I was saying I'm fine for different reasons. Mm-hmm. But none of them was to benefit me. So it was because I had no choice but to be fine, or I didn't want to cause the person I was with or around to be uncomfortable. And for me, I think that women have learned this behavior from their female role models, whether it be grandmother, aunt, mother, whatever, because we've been taught to keep our negative feelings to ourselves, even when it's costing us our mental, emotional, or physical health.
Okay. All right. You said your one. Let me start with one. I think ours is if we're gonna start with the very basic is we use less words. And so like, we start fire like caveman. We communicate really like just with our eyes. We say less things. Like we don't really express ourselves that way. So when we say we good, a lot of times we're hoping that we want you to be paying attention. You know when I'm hungry, you know when all these other things are, you should know what our tones are. So it takes us a while to get like comfortable to actually say like, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with us. So I don't know if it's talked down like y'all, like where you coming from, but for my aspect of it, that's how
right.
We communicate less. So now we got to have a book, a conversation, a big dialogue about some basic stuff. A lot of dudes is turned off by that, or we just don't want to do it, or we're uncomfortable. But it's a lot.
Could it be that for men you've been raised to like not express yourselves because it comes off as like, you're emotional, or
so you diving into my stuff? Okay.
No, not just necessarily you.
No, I'm not talking. Oh, see, wait. I wasn't talking about me to begin with. Let's say that. But what I'm saying is, one of my points was a lot of times we're not going to complain because there is a stigma, like we're supposed to hold everything, and in our eyes, it's like it's weak. When y'all do something and we don't say nothing, it's like, yo, I didn't say nothing, but y'all get to complain, y'all get to say everything, but we keep it to ourselves when honestly we should say something. You know what I'm saying? But we'll say it in other ways, like subliminal or attitudes that you don't really understand. No, you don't irritated me, or I'm stressed out, and I'm not comfortable enough to say it, or I don't want to say it.
Right. It's crazy that men and women have the same feelings, but we don't pay attention to any of it because it's been instilled in us just to keep it pushing. Again, to the detriment of our well-being, and that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. I don't even think that men and women are that much different. Men, typically is said that women are more emotional and men are more logical. But even now, I'm starting to be like, is that necessarily true?
Yeah, true. Well, shout out to my cousin Elo Strubwick. He was on something where he was saying like we're more alike than we're different. I think we're told that we're supposed to move this way. We're supposed to be able to do these things. We're told what lane to be in instead of the lane that we're comfortable in, and that includes expressing ourselves.
Right.
So another thing for me is don't compete with Petey. And Petey is male or female. So what happens with not wanting to express yourself is that you look at yourself like she did this, she did that, and so you don't want to say anything because you don't want to get thrown back in your face. Like a lot of times some people will, when you tell them something's wrong, they tell you about what's wrong with them. And they don't say it any other time, but when I bring that up, so then it's like, yo, I'm good because I know what this is. Now we about to have a conversation about all the 800 things you did. I know you did 800 things, but I'm talking about the one thing that you didn't do today. And you know what I'm saying? So that's a part of why we say, well, I'm good on that, because we don't want to have to us that's so much of a like a female kind of conversation. Like that's it's too emotional. Like it's like, nah, man, I'm just telling you, when you have a problem, I do like 4 things wrong. My one problem shouldn't be deleted. That's
right.
Like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, and now that you say that, I guess for women, it's like, yo, I did all this stuff for you.
Bird.
Hey, Keisha. I guess for me, it's for women, it's like, yo, but I did all these other things. Like, pay attention to, forget the one thing I didn't do, even though that might have been more important than everything else. I did everything else. But you know what? Again, this is open dialogue.
Yeah, we don't really talk about
understand each other, right?
I'm lighting this incense. I ain't like nothing else, y'all, but that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want no bad vibes, and I don't want.
And no, it's not sage, y'all. It's regular incense from the corner store.
The hood to do what the hood to do.
The hood will make it work. We make our own sage.
Thank you. So what else? What else is why y'all say I'm fine?
Like it goes back to, like, it was ingrained in us to do that. We don't want to make the person we're with feel uncomfortable, or we've also learned, depending on our past, if we suffered trauma or whatever, it's like, you don't care anyway. It's nothing you can do about it. I'll be fine.
So a lot of times, we have already worked out what we think that person is going to say. So our defenses are up, and so we don't really hear like maybe like a dude saying, "I got you," and but it's like, no, you haven't got me like all these other times. So is that a possibility?
Yeah.
That's it.
Right, because it becomes like, I can't trust you to hold me down. You ain't been doing it, or you've been flaky with it. So don't worry about it. I'm fine.
Right.
I got it one way or another. I'm good.
So this open dialogue, this conversation is about why we do those things. I think it's more like you said. It can be insecure. It can feel you don't trust that person, or you feel like that person. That's why I want y'all not to compete. Once y'all start tallying up who does what and all of that, it's not going to win, because somebody's going to do more. And so you don't want that conversation, and you don't want whatever you did to be cheapened. So we're trying to get the conversation. It's like, why do we say fine? I know, speaking as a salesperson, like when people will come in to buy stuff, they're saying like, yo, I'm good. But then 5 seconds later, they're hawking you down. And shout out to everybody to know what I'm talking about. Like, you'll ask somebody, do they need help? They'll say no. You walk 2 seconds later, then they're talking. It's kind of the same thing that I think y'all do. Like, y'all say, I'm fine. I'll say, what's wrong? You say, never mind. And so as a man, I'm gone. Like that's the end of the conversation. I'm playing the game. I'm doing whatever. Now you coming out like, can I talk to you? And so it's like, okay. And then it's like, well, and it's like, wait, you talking about that? Like, I'm thinking something new about to happen. I gotta stop pulling the okie dokie.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. And that's why communication is very much key. So for me, I was saying I was fine so much that I started to believe it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I wasn't fine. I couldn't have been fine because I've been through so much, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through homelessness. I've been sexually assaulted. I've just relationships and addictions and being violent. How could I be fine after all that stuff? But I kept believing it. Matter of fact, I believed it to the point where I'm fine myself into a person who I didn't even know anymore. I no longer recognized who I was because I kept saying, I'm fine. Fine.
You are fine.
Oh, I love you. So that's a good point. We can't keep saying I'm fine, because then we'll lose who we are.
And then that just dives into this too. Okay, so if as a man I step up and say what's wrong, and you shut me down, and you don't know what I've gone through, like that might be a big step for me to ask you what's going on. So now you want to do it on your terms, And that kind of becomes what I thought about, like with the whole competing with Petey. Like then it's like, you want me to bow down. I think our sexes sometimes look at each other as being punked. And like, so now you want me to listen to you. But at the end of the day, if we're not leaving, we should. But that's not how it's going to go. It seems like you were playing a game. You didn't say what you was really on your mind, but you slamming stuff. You closing the door. You rolling your eyes. You doing everything else. And so I got to sit there and accept those kind of things. And so as a man, it's like, yo, listen, I'm good. Like I'm not even going to bring you that kind of drama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a good point. Like, you're making some very valid points.
I do that
but
sometimes.
You do. But again, for me, it goes back to, do you even really care? If I tell you what you're going to do about it, you ain't been doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, and it's crazy because it still goes back to communication. You can't expect somebody, just like you were just saying, like, you expected people to just know what you wanted. You can't
that's
be
a
lying.
huge thing. That's a huge thing. So what I was saying, like, we cavemen and we go through very basic stuff. As men, we can really talk to guys in a short sentence type of fraction, like just in like basic kind of stuff, like you want to go to the game, stuff like that. So that allows us not to be so detailed with y'all, which means it kind of messes us up because we don't want to have that. We're not used to, for me speaking, I'm not used to having a deep conversation. And so it's like, what's up? You wrote? Well, why? You know, it's like, what, why, how? That's it. I'm done. But it's like, you're going to be like, well, I felt like this when this happened and the rain going to come down. I'm like, yo, okay. Like, I mean,
but I think too, it stems back to kind of like, your mother catered to you, especially, your boys, because I was the same way. I'm still trying to get out of that. But they catered to you, and so you didn't have to really go through anything. They would just tell you, wrap their arms around you. Versus when you get out of your mom's house or whatever, and you start dating for real, then it becomes like, yo, I really got to work hard to understand what my woman is going through, and it wasn't like that before.
Okay. So that's a flip. Like, so what our interpretation of women are the women that are close to us. So our sister, our aunt, our mom, and so those kind of things can get us in a way of not looking at the individual that we're messing with. Like, we'll compare them to, well, my mom does this and my mom does that, or my mom knows me. You know what I mean? So what I would say is, we're talking to people that are in a committed relationship or trying to work things out. We're not talking to people that are single and are still doing all this. We're talking about people that are, you're cemented in your relationship and this is what you want to do, and you have these bumps and bruises. So what I'm saying is, if you think back to how you talk to or you treat your women, most of the time it's connected to how you treat who you're with. And I changed in different ways, depending on, based on how I was raised, then when I was out there. And so then trying to be in a relationship, I moved differently and I communicated differently. And it wasn't until I was willing to go like, all right, I'm willing to listen. And I wasn't, to be honest. I didn't care or want to. I felt like I knew it was better, and I felt like he was probably making a big deal out of it instead of listening. I didn't even engage in it. And I think we shut down. So as men, we shut down. Like, y'all really got to do PowerPoints because our attention is like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, that's how it is.
Yeah, I can see that. And with you saying that, it does remind me of how we've grown in a relationship. I think when you're a single person or you're just dating, that when you don't communicate or when you say I'm fine, that's a battle for you to do it right by yourself. But then when you enter a relationship with somebody and it's a committed relationship, it's no longer your I'm fine. It's no longer just your battle. Right. It's the battle between you and whoever you're with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Yeah, that's a different way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. And for me and you, again, guys, if you don't know, we've been off and on for over 20 years. We've been married for 5. And before we were married, I would be like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then I found out later that you knew I wasn't fine. You just didn't want to
Yeah. And that brings me to this. So then there's the person that says like, listen, I'm not comfortable and I'm not ready to. So it's because we all have steps that we're going to go to. So what I would say to all of y'all, male or female, is don't let that pot boil over. So, when you're cooking, you want things to boil, but you don't need the water to go everywhere. You don't want the mess. So that I'm saying, don't watch things get built. If you are doing like 800 things and your significant other, your partner is not, then more likely that's going to be something. So just step in and just take the weight off. Don't ask what's wrong. Just do something. I'm telling, as a man, just move by action. If you're not ready to be verbal, just go ahead and grab a kid. Go ahead and pick up something. Don't ask what's wrong, because then for me, when I say I'm good or something, you say what's wrong, I feel like you're playing with me. Like I feel like you already know what's wrong. So now I got to say it out loud, and that kind of thing.
And sometimes, like, for man or woman, whoever you're with, sometimes you do know what's wrong with that person.
Yeah, you do.
For whatever reason, you just want confirmation, but really it's pointless. Because I know, like, I can't say that I knew what was wrong with you every time, but a lot of times I did know, and I just wanted you to say it. And it was probably because I was ready to argue with you.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, it didn't work. Eventually, even if he wasn't upset with me or I didn't do anything wrong or whatever, it would drive me so crazy that he wouldn't tell me what was wrong, that we would start arguing.
Yeah. And shout outs to everybody. How many of us are having an argument about the argument, like about why you mad? So why don't you tell me? And that's the fight, not what's wrong. Mm-hmm. So you're not having a conversation about what's really going on. You're talking about tones, and you're talking about all these other things, and you don't. I mean, for me and you, by the end of it, I didn't know what we were mad about, but I knew you had disrespected me, and I was going to hold on to it,
And that's funny, too, because first of all, there's the holding on part. Mm-hmm. So for me, since we've been married, and I would be like, I'm fine. But then at one, you could do something so stupid, or I could have a bad day, and then all my anger is boiling out. And y'all, my anger is not, it's not a simmer, it's a boil. You know what I mean? It's a volcano when I react or when I get angry, because I'm holding it in for so long. At least with him, I was.
Yeah, I think of it as like a acid storm.
Oh, well, it is what it is. So anyway, I think what helped us to be able to bypass that is when you looked at me, it's like, you know what, you're not fine. And we have to address why you're not fine. Which is, again, going back to communication. Because I can't tell you about your relationships, but my husband knows me inside and out for the most part. So I wasn't comfortable. I had, like I said, guys, I'm fine myself into a whole different person. Mm-hmm. And so when he finally was like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. And when I was able to talk to him about all the feelings, not just since we had been married, but before we were married, I was able to feel better. And I know that was because, not just because me and you were getting therapy, but also because we were at this point like, okay, we're at the crossroads. Which way are we going to go, forward or backwards?
And that just brings us to this, and I call it the recycling conversation. The recycling conversation is the conversation that doesn't go anywhere. It's the same argument. It's the same kind of thing that happens, and you continue to have it, and you continue to be on your side, and she's on her side, and you continue to say you don't understand, you don't get it, and you're not talking about any of it. So me and C were just in this revolving situation, and in the middle of it, at the end, she's saying I'm fine, and I'm going like I don't know what's going on, but I had to, and I'm telling you, I didn't want to. I was uncomfortable because you don't want to have those kind of conversations, but it was like either I care enough to figure out what's really going on, because we're not stupid, and we know something's wrong, but sometimes we just don't want to dig into it. Is it going to come back on me? Right. Or is it going to be on, it just depends on how comfortable we are as far as what we can handle to protect you or help you.
Right.
Sometimes we're not equipped to be able to do it. And it's like, listen, that's just really not my lane.
Yeah, I think, and again, like I keep saying communication, I know you guys are tired of hearing that word, but
she's not going to stop.
I'm not going to stop, because communication comes with so much. Like, we don't even think about it. Yeah. But if you can communicate, because communication for me, everybody communicates differently. So first of all, you need to learn how your mate communicates, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then depending on that, you need to set this, especially if it's going to be a serious conversation, you have to set the mood. Mm-hmm. For us, we have 7 kids in the house. So for us, we have to do ours in the evening, when everybody's in the bed, and it's just me and him.
Yeah, everybody has to wind down.
It have to wind down. I remember trying to talk to him seriously when the house was like crazy, and it didn't go well because his mind was on everything else. And that's why I feel like it's important that you communicate and have that support. So once he supported me and allowed me to vent, I swear, guys, like the weight came off my shoulder, and not even just necessarily him allowing me to vent, him actually hearing me to listen and not respond made a difference. Now, he did talk back, and when he you did respond. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say talk back. But once he took in everything I had to say, and his response was that of a mature person. It was just like, yo, I did do a lot and I'm sorry.
Right.
But he also let me know, he was just like, but I can't take it back, Cece. You know, it's nothing I can do about it. I can just try to be a better person.
That's right.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But really, nobody can do anything except for try to be a better person.
Yeah.
And I think, like, again, knowing that your mate supports you and would prefer for you to be honest than to be angry, I think that's a key in a good relationship.
Well, I agree. I think it has to do with what you said, but it also has to do with your, like, the environment, a trust. You have, if you trust that person, you're gonna be more honest with that person. And the truth of the matter was, you didn't trust me enough to share that with. And I didn't trust myself enough to actually ask that question, because we got to be honest with ourselves. How many times are we having the same argument? That means we're not asking the right question.
Right.
And we're doing it on purpose, you know, because there's another question we keep having the same argument. Then I need to ask what's really going on. And I'm not going to stop. And I remember saying, like, nah, like, no. And when you finally did, it was things that I didn't even think of. There was some things that I really didn't think of. Some things I had an idea, but some things I was like, yo, if that's what you're holding on to, now that makes sense.
Right.
But it was torture because she was holding on to it. And we're saying that not only did it torture herself, but it tortured me. So it's not just when you're in a committed relationship and you're saying I'm fine and I'm good and you're being short and you're not really being honest with yourself. It just repeats the cycle. It's draining. And for me, at a time, I felt like, where's the love at? Like, I'm with this child, I'm with you regardless. And like, I keep asking you, and that goes out to the women and the men that are really asking, like, what's really going on, and they're being serious and you're shutting them down. Figure out a way to communicate with them, or tell them that you're not ready and you're trying to. But shutting them down is going to make them feel like there's something else going on.
Yeah.
And it could be just, you just not ready. So I want to say that and be very clear about that too.
Yeah, and it's different ways. Like with me, because I like to write, it was like, okay, listen, just text me or send me an email of how you're feeling, because I wasn't able to talk to him because my husband has a smart mouth and he can kind of be manipulative, you know. So I
just know how to connect the dots. I don't know if that's manipulating.
So he connected the dots to benefit his argument, okay? But like I was starting to feel stupid, and I knew I wasn't stupid. So he was just like, listen, when me and him first, it's like, okay, we got to communicate. It was like, what you could probably do, since you're better at writing, is write. And so I would text him my feelings. I would email him my feelings because I wasn't in a place where I could verbally talk to him. Now I am, because me and him had to both work on our communication.
And a part of my thing was, because it's a part, and I'm just speaking as for me, and I think most men are like that too, though. It's like when you're having a conversation, we kind of look at things in such a logical kind of way. And so when you say something, we're correcting you. Well, that didn't happen. That was 2 days ago. Like, and then that messes. So I feel like we got to get past that. You know, you got to be comfortable enough to hear what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So now when you say, Jay, I got to talk, I'm not defensive. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, you know, whatever she's gonna say, I'm gonna listen first. And I think once we close our mouths and listen, then that conversation is different.
Yeah.
If you talk at the same time, nobody's listening, and that's just what's happening. It's just two people talking at the same time.
Yeah, and you hit on a key point when you said we recycle the conversation. We recycling the conversation because we're not addressing the real issue.
Right,
the real issue isn't what y'all talking about. The real issue is like, yo, why are you acting so differently? Why are you upset? Why are you sad? Why, that's the real conversation.
You're not good. You're not fine. How can you be? Fine and good people don't react this way.
Yeah, and if you love that person, if that person loves you, and you guys are in it for the long haul, you have got to, first of all, stop saying I'm fine.
Yeah.
If you're saying I'm fine to protect this person, then that person might not be the person that you need to be with.
Right.
Okay, if you're saying I'm fine because of your own insecurities, I suggest you do need to get some help, and you need to dig deep.
Yeah, you just
dig deep.
Dig. Definitely work on, you know what I'm saying, being open with yourself. When you with somebody, then you are the most vulnerable person. We have to be honest with ourselves. Nobody knows what you're really like until you're with that person. So if you can't trust or be able to communicate with that person instantly, then tell them, like, take a break and say, I need a minute. And like C said, like, text them, do anything. Like, you can figure out ways to communicate. It's not always in your face, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to yell to get your point across. You just have to be direct and honest.
Yes, my friend Holly
What up,
said
Holly?
so much I could say on this topic, but I'm driving. If you all are still on when I get home, I'm chiming in. Holly, I don't know how long we're gonna be able to hold for you, boo.
Yes.
Because we got a whole lot of things to do today. But definitely, you can still comment, and one of us will definitely respond.
Matter of fact, to be honest, I had that I'm fine. We had that I'm fine this morning. It was.
Yeah,
We have a lot of children, and with the schools being here, it's a lot of pressure. We've got like a 5-year-old that's all over the place. We've got a lot of different things, and then we've got older kids. One's in college, one's trying to graduate from high school, and so, and it wasn't personal towards C. She was right here with me like she always is, but it was just the house. Sometimes our house can be a lot.
Yeah.
And she knew I needed a break, and it wasn't, and I was just like, I'm good. I actually said it like, I'm good, and she was like, nah, you can just go upstairs, because C ain't fit to do it. Like, and plus that's gonna be a distraction. I'm gonna be over here dragging my feet. I'm 6'3". That's loud. That's a loud giant having a tantrum. Like, I'm not trying to do all of that. So I went upstairs. And I was upset because I'm like, even though she offered to help, but I'm still upset because of how the house moved. Not at her particularly, but I just wasn't in a good place. So I relaxed, I breathed a little bit, chilled for a while, went to sleep, y'all. Went to sleep, no lie, for about an hour and a half. Opened the door, one of my babies hugged me. I'm like, I'm good. I'm coming down the stairs. See, looking at me, all surprised, like I thought she was gonna be in there. The first thing I did is went over there and hugged and kissed her. That first thing, and I said, thank you. I never would have. I would have said, like, if she would have said, I got you, I would have said, about time. And I still would have went, man, I still would have been angry when she did it. But it was just like, you know what? I can't hold on to that. This wasn't personal. This is just what something happened. And what I'm trying to tell y'all is, if it's not really personal, if it's personal, you need to communicate it anyway. If it's not, man, I gotta hold that. It's hard not to drag things up on, but when you do, then that other person's got to take that.
Yeah. And I had completely forgot about this morning. And so on my end, when I noticed that he was cranky, I was just like, I'm not doing this right now. Because I just don't have the energy for it. Our 5-year-old be all over the place. Like, Egypt is a lot.
Yeah.
And when I looked at him, I just say, okay, I told him, I said, I see your signs. You need to go upstairs. He tried to argue with me.
Yeah, I got defensive instantly. I'm telling you, like, me and her been in a, like, we don't do none of that. Man, she said, like, I see the signs. I said, what you talking about? What you mean? Like, what you trying to say? And then she was like, never mind. And that's when I say, yo, I'm going upstairs. Like, yeah. I was like, that's the most right there. And I just knew I was agitated. And sometimes agitation can become dictation. It can come something really horrible out of it just by being irritable. Then that person not catching your sign. You're not expressing yourself at that moment. It becomes this big ordeal that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, so, I was able to say never mind because I was like, I know he tripping. I don't have to say too much. And sometimes we have to learn that too. Sometimes just don't say anything. Mm-hmm. You already know something's off, right? Yeah. No point in saying anything because you don't know how that person is going to react.
And to be honest, you're saying something to get something going, because the reality of it is, if that person is coming at you crazy and you have done nothing wrong, what do you need to talk to that person about?
Right.
Because you saying something that's going like, oh, that's what I thought. I felt like I was moving around, and she was like, da-da-da. I'm like, oh, this is what you doing then. And it wasn't that. It was me. And when she got quiet and just looked at me like, okay. And I was like, all right, let me go take my little self upstairs. And she ain't trying to beef.
It wasn't always like that. It would have been a time I would have responded, and we wouldn't have, the whole day would have been ruined. Like, our kids would have been in school, and we wouldn't have cared nothing about it. Yeah. So I'm thankful for our growth. Mm. And for me, when I said never mind, I was just like, he's going to get it. And y'all, guess what? So he went upstairs. Typically, it was a time when I would have went right behind him, even if it was just to comfort him. I didn't even do that. Like. And it's not because my kids was in school, because it was a time I wouldn't have cared. Mm-hmm. It was just because you know what? Let me give him his time.
Mm-hmm. That's been a big
to
thing.
let him process it. And about maybe an hour later, I went upstairs and I was just like, I didn't mean to make you feel like you were crazy or anything. I was just saying, like, I know something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. And so, it wasn't an argument. He was just like, yeah, you were right. I just needed some time. Okay, I gave him a hug. And I went back downstairs, and eventually he came down.
I'm telling y'all, we're not lying. Like, anybody that knows us would have been like, no. And like, it's just what I would say about CNI, and if y'all can relate to that, relationships, like two dominant people that look at things a different way, especially at home, like outside and at work, but in general, we just don't play. Like, we're really straight up people. And so, but to me, what happens is we're the same. So when that would happen, it was like, even if we knew we were wrong or we knew that person was upset, we didn't like their tone about being upset. And that was enough for us to go like, I don't care. Like, you know what? Your tone was crazy. My tone wasn't crazy 3 weeks ago. I mean, what's up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so me and you were, and then it was like, so then it was just a resume. Okay, let me show you what I did, AB. You know what I mean? Oh, you gonna do your resume? Let me tell you about what I did. And it was a battle. Me and you don't battle anymore. And if you're battling somebody, you're hurting, and the other person doesn't know it, or both of y'all hurt at the same time. We're saying like two people that typically argued are never back down or saying it's not about that. It's about figuring out what's going on.
And sometimes, guys, we think that they're upset with us when really it could be something else. It might not be related to us, but it becomes us because we're aggravating them. It's just a meme on Facebook, and it was like a couple in a bed together, and it says like, it was a female, and the female's like, oh, he's probably thinking about cheating on me with the next female. The dude in the picture was like, yo, I need $100 more to buy a motorcycle. Yeah. Like, that's what his head was at. Yeah. And so that's once again why you have to communicate. Like, babe, okay, what's going on? Oh, I just am $100 short for such and such. It's simple as that.
Because I'll be looking crazy sometimes, and I had to really start telling her, like, I might be thinking about one of our sick children. Just our child is in the middle. I might be thinking about a whole lot of different things. And so C would be like, what's wrong? And so, coming into that way, there was stuff going on with me. And now that I think about it, I should have been able to say that, but because you knew something was going on, but it wasn't what you thought it was. You know what I mean? But it was something. And I think when the reality of it is, when we're around each other a long amount of time, we've had children with them, or we've connected with them some form, we know each other. And that's another thing I'm saying. Just pay attention to your people. Like, just pay attention to somebody just like coming in, breathing hard, like, yo, I'm tired, or, like talking loud that normally doesn't talk. Just pay attention to those little things, because those things don't go away. They just get bigger.
Yeah. One more point I want to make too is like, your mate might not want to communicate with you, because I used to do this. I was bad for this. I would throw whatever he said back in his face if I got pissed. Like, I mean, y'all, I'm not even gonna repeat the things I would say, but it would be like, at one point in time, he didn't trust me to talk to him.
Oh, yeah, right. That's a really huge point, right? And I'm glad that you said that, but that's something that I think all couples got to work on. It's like, yes, we're all going to argue because we're human, and we look at things differently. But it's like, when you start using that against each other, then it's violating each other's trust. And so the next argument, it's always going to be harder to get over, because those things are in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So be careful about, because we do say things when we're mad, because we're all human. But like, when people tell you certain things and all of that, try not to use that against them, because it's a violation to them.
Especially because they trusted you, and you have maybe the only person they told it to. So it's very key. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up on this episode, love?
I just love this. I love this episode. It means a lot, because me and you moved around and said we were, like I said, I ain't gonna say I'm fine. We good. I'm alright. I'm basic. I'm straight. Anything I want to say was very whatever. And I just like this conversation that we're having. I like the points that we made. I just think that, like anything, just get therapy, talk to somebody, communicate, figure out a way, just have each other's back, because you in it together. But I don't have anything else. I love
I love this episode too. What I will end with saying is, do not "I'm fine" yourself to death.
Do
Okay.
not, I'm fine. I mean, fine, but don't fine in the conversation.
Yeah.
And you ain't good when you ain't good. That's what I'm telling all y'all. We ain't good if we ain't good.
Yeah.
You feel me?
All right, guys. So we hope you like this video or this podcast.
Yeah, check it out.
Please
comment.
And you can follow us on YouTube under Life Under the L Word.
You know it. As always, life is love and love is life.
All right.
We out. Bam.
Bye.